Hey guys, it is Brian here. Welcome to episode 7 of our Cardiff City Career Mode series for FIFA 14. In today's episode, we got 2 games for you, and we're entering the belly of the beast. We got a tough episode here, playing against Newcastle United. We've had a very strong start to the season, and are, for whatever reason, Newcastle isn't doing that great in real life, but they're holding up in FIFA 14, at least from what I can see. And then we're going to move on to another game as well against Chelsea, away from home at Stamford Bridge. Probably one of the hardest matchups I've had in FIFA 13. So we'll see how Cardiff does in that matchup there. But moving into this game, I'm very excited because this is kind of getting into maybe a little bit more of the deeper parts of the season. We're going to be seeing more and more of this going ahead here. As I talked about in my last episode, I'm going to be doing these every couple of days now with 2 games in each episode. So a little bit less than maybe what you want to see in regards to how many games you want to see per episode. But they'll be short, they'll be concise. You can sit down, watch it very quickly, and then we'll get around to another episode in only a couple days. And that makes sure that I got this content coming out as quick as I can, at least right now, with the amount of stuff that I got going on. And then at the same time too, it's not stopping, it's not sporadic. We got episodes coming out every couple of days, and I've got the backlog here, which will actually probably help us out quite a bit in regards to keeping this consistent thing too. But in this game here, you can see that Newcastle get the early goal with Loic Remy there on loan from QPR. He scores there, and we didn't get any shots. We didn't get any opportunities. We were really held back in this game, and it was frustrating to say the least. Going into the second half though, we pick it up a little bit. We start getting some opportunities, and we're also going to make a triple change, which will help the team out a little bit. And kind of whenever those situations happen where you're really not getting lots going on, I like to do that drastic change, which at least injects something in there. And Loic Remy with that chance there, and another one here that I thought was going to be deadly, but they run into each other, which saves us from a early demise there. But in the 58th minute here, Cornelius with a chance, first real chance of the game, goes out the post. That was so close, and I could feel at that point that would have been the lucky turnaround. But there's the triple change. We bring on Mason, Whittingham, and Gunnarsson, 3 different players, filling out the rest of the squad, trying to at least inject something here. And Mason's going to get a chance off this one here as he comes in, takes the shot, almost a rebound there for Cornelius, not able to get that one to go though, and he's going to make the pass off here. Whittingham gets the deflected ball, almost another good one there, but not able to get that past the keeper as well. And we did get some chances later on in this game, but as you can see, nothing that was actually going into the net. And that's how this one's going to end, unfortunately, as Newcastle played a very solid game. They held the lead early, and they really didn't let us into the game later on, though. We were able to get a couple chances, not enough. Marshall held it pretty well in net, but that'll be a 1-0 loss for us. And at home, it wasn't the best result. I was hoping to beat Newcastle there, or not necessarily beat them, but at least give them a good run for their money, and we didn't really do that initially, which was a little bit disappointing. Largely, the biggest thing I'm getting most excited to see from this season, though, is where we're kind of going to end up in the table, is where the goal is at least that we're not going to get relegated. And I know we're not going to do that, but that's what the board wants from us. So that's a pretty low goal set there, and I'm going to use that later on in the season to get us a little bit more board money, as I'm going to leverage that up and be like, hey, we'll get mid-table if you give us some extra, cash. We can use that to, at least inject the squad here mid-season. But besides from that, I don't really know where we're going to end up. I've played with Liverpool last season, where it's expected that you make the EuroLeague. It's expected that you make the Champions League. Nothing less than that is a disappointment. You're probably going to win the league after a couple seasons too. And I don't know the progression that's going to happen here for Cardiff City, because we're playing on world class, and I feel like world class, at least for me, is a challenge that I fight to succeed in. And as you guys saw from my Liverpool series last in FIFA 13, I never was able to win the title with them in 4 seasons, and I felt like a disappointment to me. But coming back to the game here, I just wanted to say, Jesus, Cornelius, he's been on fire, and there's another goal from him. 18th minute, that's just him busting through the defense and scoring a goal off balance that went top corner. And that was a moment for me where I'm like, all right, we can do this. We can take on a big side, and we can see what happens. Maybe we're not going to win, but we can at least score goals against them. And Schürrle there immediately puts it right back to 1-0. And a little bit disappointed that we gave up that one that quickly, but we were fighting in this game, and especially at Stamford Bridge, I was happy to see that. Cutting back though, I'm very excited to see how we're going to do in regards to where we're going to end up. And I mean, I'm hoping that, this season I have no expectations to make it to the EuroLeague. I have no expectations to make it to any sort of competition like that. My goal is to end up mid-table. That's what I want. And I think that's a pretty fair goal for us first season here. Then we start injecting some players in the squad that are game changers. Once we get those game changers in, then we can start taking on, the smaller clubs and expecting the win, and then also, fighting those bigger teams and saying, hey, we can steal points here. And we're going to steal points this season, don't get me wrong, we're going to try and do that. But there's also going to be times we play a team like Norwich or whatever, and we get a draw or a loss, and that could happen when we're playing with a bigger side, but it's not the end of the world when it happens this way too, because whenever you're fighting for those Champions League or EuroLeague spots, if you drop points, it's shitty. It's like, oh, I just dropped points, I can't do that. But when you're going mid-table, there's a lot more room to kind of, float around, not sure what's going to happen. But my goal, actually, let me rephrase my goal. My goal is to go 500, if you will. And this is a term that I don't think is used that much for, playing football, but it's a term that I'm quite familiar with in regards to going even on your win-loss ratio. So I am hoping that by the end of the season, that's a tough goal to ask. It's usually, a team that goes even on that is getting maybe 8th, 9th, or 10th in the table, even higher possibly. It's only a couple teams that actually get that below the teams that get the EuroLeague spots and the Champions League and win the title. It's very, split between that, where it's either you do pretty crappy and you just kind of make it by, or you do pretty good. And there's only a couple teams, like a Newcastle or a Fulham, not last season for Newcastle, but those type of sides that, have done that in the past. And Everton, for example, that don't necessarily fight for that EuroLeague spot. Well, they do fight it for it, but they never really make it that close, but they're still kicking around. They still, end up doing pretty solid for the season overall. So that's my goal for Cardiff. It's a little bit of a lofty goal, I think, this season, but I think we can try. We can try and do that. And we'll be changing the expectations of the club going ahead so we can get a bit more money, going for mid-table. So we at least have to do that. But then besides from that, too, we'll also be shooting to, see how we can do. Maybe, not necessarily dance to the big boys, but be below them and have a better season than what was expected. But that's it for this episode, guys. We tied against Chelsea, got the draw there, lost against Newcastle. It's only 1 point, but I felt like it was pretty solid overall. I'll see you guys in episode 9, and thank you all for watching. Cheers.
In 7th, Southampton with 13 points. In 8th, Chelsea with 11 points. Bottom of the table, West Ham United with 1 point. And then reading up the table, second bottom, Sunderland with 5 points. Third bottom, Aston Villa with 6 points. Fourth bottom, Hull City with 7 points. Fifth bottom, West Bromwich Albion with 7 points.